So, you're not sure what to bet. Don't worry, I gotcha. Welcome, football fans, iron gamblers, and all of my degenerates. It's Mitch here with my last minute wild card weekend best bets. This is the video where I find the alternative avenues of making money betting on the NFL this weekend. I'm talking team totals, player props, teasers, win margins, anything I can get my hands on to help you make some money this wild card weekend. From Saturday through Monday, these are my favorite bets. If that sounds good, Gronk, spike the like button. Don't be a jabroni and subscribe to Money Mitch for more NFL picks and best bets just like this. It's time to get started with the Carolina Panthers and the Los Angeles Rams. 4:30 Eastern kickoff on Saturday. If you're watching this on Sunday or Monday, just skip ahead to the game that you want to see, okay? Panthers, Rams. You know that I kind of like the over in this game. I do believe the Rams are going to move the ball, run the ball, and run it all over Carolina. And I'm not scared about any rain. Thunder, lightning, who cares? But I do believe the Panthers are a little undervalued in terms of their ability to move the ball. Look, they've played once before already. And they won, okay? I don't think they're going to win this one. I don't think they're going to be that close. In fact, I would lean Rams on the spread. But I do think they're going to get some points on the board. Offensively, in the first matchup, they put up 24. 3 explosive touchdowns. Bryce Young had 3 touchdowns. 1 to McMillan, Coker, and then Hubbard. I kind of like the idea of leveraging Carolina with some sort of spread play. So why not something like this? The Carolina Panthers to score over 16.5 points. Combine it with the Rams minus 5.5. That is plus 230. So instead of laying 10.5, let's lay under a touchdown. Let's get under 6. And let's have the Rams win the game, the Rams cover, but the Panthers still to put up 17 points. Could you not see the Rams winning 27-17? Could you not see 34-17, 31-17, 38-17, 38-20, 38-21, 34-21? You know all the scores. I could see it myself. I do think the Panthers can score. Like I said, 24 in the first matchup against the Rams. Sure, Quentin Lake is back for the Rams. That should help. But Robert Hunt is back for the Panthers. And the Panthers were able to run the ball on the Rams in the first game. And when the Panthers can run the ball, they don't have a bad offense whatsoever. Dowdle, Hubbard, they can actually have the formula here of what you need to be and do against this Rams defense. That is run the ball. That is play action boot, get Bryce out the pocket, short passes. And they do have big receivers on the perimeter to target against those really undersized corners of the Rams. Forbes and Williams. McMillan could have a big game here. Coker did have a big game in the first matchup with over 70 yards and a touchdown. And Bryce was 15 for 20 with 3 touchdowns. Like, they moved the ball. They scored points, guys. So I'm looking at the Panthers. 16.5 and Rams minus 5.5. I don't want to be laying over double digits in a game. I kind of don't mind that. Also, if you want to do something like you could do for the game, you could do 40, 41 plus, Rams minus 5.5. You could do something like that, but that's a little bit more conservative. I'm going for a little bit more of the gusto here. We're going big. And when we look at the Rams defense, guys, they've allowed 20, 27, 38, and 34 in 4 consecutive games. So if the Panthers get to 20, we're golden. By the way, team total wise for the Panthers, if you just want to bet their team total, over 19.5 is plus 118. That's also another avenue. If you agree with me where this Rams defense a little overrated, Panthers offense maybe a little underrated in the spot, I think they can move it a little bit in this game. So I think they're going to hang around. 17, 20 points sounds about right to me. Okay, now on the other side, I do think the Rams are going to run the ball really, really well. So I looked at both the running backs. Blake Corum for 50-plus rushing yards, I really, really like at plus 110. Now, I also like Kyren at 75-plus rushing yards. That's also plus 110. But Blake Corum in the first matchup had 11 yards per carry. I'm not making that up. He had 11 yards per carry on 7 carries. The Rams as a team had 21 attempts for 152 yards and 7.2 yards per carry. And in that game, the Rams had the most successful running game at any point in this season. Any game, any matchup, the Rams against the Panthers running the ball was the most efficient game we saw all year. The Rams are one of the best running teams in football. Corum is basically splitting with Kyren at this rate. I think he is the better bet at 50-plus rushing yards, especially if in the second half, the Rams are up by multiple touchdowns and they want to rest Kyren, right? So Corum, 50-plus rushing yards, plus 110. I also like Kyren, 75-plus rushing yards, plus 110. I think both of these guys will go for over 70 yards in this game. That's my hunch. I also believe with the Panthers potentially scoring some points in this game, Bryce Young at plus 170 to throw 2 touchdowns is not a bad bet either. To go over 1.5 passing touchdowns, he's plus 170. That's what I'm looking at. He threw 3 in the first game. You could get a touchdown relatively early. Let's say a touchdown in the first half. The Rams are up by 24-7 at half. Bryce leads another drive and throws the ball for a touchdown and kind of gets a sort of garbage time touchdown. That would be 2 touchdowns, right? So I could see that happening here in a game flow, game script perspective. Or you just have maybe Stafford throws a pick. He threw 2 against the Carolina Panthers last time out. Maybe that leads to a short field and Bryce capitalizes. Either way, I think that there is opportunity to throw the ball against the Rams. They're weak in the middle of the field. Right now, their corner position is allowed the 31st. That means second worst passer rating to wide receivers since week 13. They're not as good of a pass defense as many people proclaim or think. I think Bryce could put up 2 touchdowns here. He put up 3 in the first game, to repeat myself. Let's get to the second game. So, just to repeat myself and go over what I said. Panthers, 16.5. Rams minus 5.5, plus 230. Okay? If you want to get real sexy with it, you could even say both teams scored 20 plus. That's plus 154. I definitely think the Rams are scoring 20. It's a matter of the Panthers, if you like the Panthers here. Corum, 50-plus rushing yards. If you want to get a little bit crazy, Kyren as well is at the same for 75-plus rushing yards. And then Bryce over 1.5 passing touchdowns. Okay, Chicago, Green Bay. Both quarterbacks at 1.5 passing touchdowns are at minus 110 and plus 110. Caleb at plus 110, Love at minus 110. I personally like Love here, minus 110. Love is going to throw the ball more, I believe, in the red zone. How many times have you seen the Packers like 4th and 1? Even when they played the Bears last time out, they throw the football. They throw the football in the red zone a lot. And I think they're going to do that in this game. So I think Love's going to throw 2 touchdowns. Whether it be because Chicago blitzes him and he throws the ball deep to Christian Watson or Romeo Doubs or something like that. Or it's because it's a fourth down, a high leverage play, and Matt LaFleur goes to his favorite pass call. That could also happen. But Love is a big touchdown guy, and I think he will get it against the Bears. He did throw multiple touchdowns against Chicago in the first matchup. He left the second matchup with an injury. But in that game, that second game, he had 13 attempts in about a quarter and a half. Malik Willis, who played essentially 3.5 quarters, only threw 11 passes. So the script and the way the offense is designed and play called is drastically different depending on the offense and the quarterback at the helm. And Love is more pass volume. Chicago's also a bad pass defense. They're like 29th or 30th in net yards per attempt. Watch them against Detroit. Watch them against San Francisco. Guys are running wide open in the middle of the field. Wide open. I'm sure Matt LaFleur's watched that tape from Shanahan, from the Lions, watching Jared Goff and Brock Purdy pick these guys apart. So I think Jordan Love is the better bet at -110, but I wanted to throw Caleb out there as well because I think it's pretty interesting. I actually like the over in this game. So that's why I'm looking at these over props for Packers quarterback and Bears quarterback, just because I like the over. I think that there will be points scored. I think both offenses will move the ball. I think both of them are going to be able to run the ball. Speaking of running the ball, Emmanuel Wilson is interestingly at 14.5 rushing yards for Green Bay. I know that Jacobs got hurt in the second game, but 82 yards on 14 attempts, that's a ridiculous yards per carry for Emmanuel Wilson. Why would LaFleur not give him the ball a few times in this game, especially with Jacobs not at 100%? The way that he performed Emmanuel Wilson, it's probably going to be a script where the Packers are playing from ahead because that's how both the first two games have been, where the Packers have gotten a lead and the Bears have had to climb back. So more running. And then also, they can run the ball effectively against the Bears. They are a bottom 5 run defense the last 2 seasons. So Emmanuel Wilson over 14.5 rushing yards is pretty interesting. Receiver-wise, Christian Watson over 55.5 receiving yards. I love betting Watson against the Bears. He seems to own the Bears. The last time out, he was basically a target in the end zone multiple times, and the wind just missed him. Also, you kind of have to throw that game out because Malik Willis was in that game. So, it's not Jordan Love. But Watson went crazy in the first game with 2 long touchdowns. He could do that again in this game, and I wouldn't be surprised. The Bears can't cover him one-on-one. He's too fast. And with his rest that he just had against the Vikings, I think Watson is going to look electric out there. So, yeah, I think Watson is a really big guy to key on, 55.5 receiving yards. Romeo Doubs had a nice game for himself the last time out against the Bears. It's interesting because, again, it was Malik Willis, but it kind of depends on how the Bears are going to play it. If they play more man coverage than they typically do and they like to blitz more like they did in the first game, then I think Watson will have a massive game. If they play more zone coverage, I do think that Romeo Doubs is probably going to catch 3 or 4 passes. So over 2.5 receptions does make sense for Romeo Doubs. But both of those guys I think will be heavily involved. Watson and Doubs. Watson 55.5 receiving yards. Doubs 2.5 receptions. Both are pretty interesting plays. And then McManus over 2.5 extra points. I know you guys love your extra points. I think the Packers are going to score 24 to 28 points. Within that range, I think they get 3 to 4 touchdowns in this game. I think they'll be able to run the ball. I think they're going to be able to pass protect with Zach Tom back. They've got all their weapons except for Tucker Kraft healthy, ready to go. Love is healthy and rested. I think that last time out, they were 0 for 5 in the red zone. I think they fixed some of those problems that they had in the red zone. And having Love the whole game, I think they're going to be able to execute in the pass game. I think they're going to have balance. I think they're going to have time. I just see points from both sides, especially the Packers. I don't love this Bears defense whatsoever. So 2.5 extra points, I think, go over. Both teams to score 20 plus along the narrative of what I've been saying, plus 110. If you guys really want to look at some of my deep dive research and analysis on these matchups, then make sure to check out my other best bets videos because I go super in depth with a lot of stats and stuff. If you guys want more behind the scenes and more background on some of these picks, because I'm kind of relaying and quickly talking about these picks as opposed to like going super in depth with each and every pick. And then the Packers and the Bears win margin. This is something I'm probably personally going to do. Betting both teams to win by 1 to 6 points. This is something that I actually did in the overtime game where the Bears came back and won by 6, and I won some good money on that one. So I think either way, the spread is 1. I think that it's going to be a 3 or 4 point game, maybe a 6 point game. I think this is a 1 score game. You might get unlucky with it's 7. It lands on 7, like 27-20. You might get unlucky 28-21 what the first game was. But I think it's more likely to be like 27-23, 24-21, 24-20, 27-24, 28-24, 30-24. Like, I think it's more likely to be that type of score. I think it's going to be last possession wins, last field goal wins, touchdown, game-winning drive. I think that it's going to be decided between 1 and 6 either way. So given the odds with these bets, this is something that I like to do when I'm pretty confident about games being decided by like less than 6 points. This was something that I did with the Rams and the Seahawks on that Thursday night game. There's been games like that. But looking at the odds, so typically it's like plus 290, plus 310. So Bears plus 310, Packers plus 290. You can get an amount of money that you put on each side and you're going to win money regardless, as long as the game is decided between 1 and 6 points for either team, right? So that's something that I'll probably play in this game. And then last but certainly not least, I think it's worth looking at the Packers on a half final bet. The Packers are, for this, plus 155 is what I see. The Packers have led both games at halftime and have led until really like the fourth quarter. Like the Packers only lost the second game because of an onside kick. That's the only reason the Bears actually came back, right? So I think the Packers are a really good first half team. The Bears are not a very good first half team. They trailed against Detroit until the fourth quarter. They came back and they couldn't win. They trailed against the Niners at halftime. They're consistently behind. Like, look at the Bears' wins this year. How many have been from behind? How many have been in the fourth quarter? How many have been, like, on game-winning drives? Like, think about it for a second. You can do that research yourself. The Packers are a fast-starting team, a time of possession, milk-the-clock football team. The Bears are kind of a little unorganized early, and they get their stuff together late in the game. I do think that's a byproduct of the way that Caleb plays, personally. But I do think that the Packers half final, if you think the Packers will win, is a better bet than just putting the money line, because I think it's very likely that the Packers win if they're leading at half. If they're not, I'd be a little concerned about the Packers' ability to win this game. Not saying they couldn't throw the ball in a comeback against the Bears. It's just not a position we usually see the Bears in. Usually the Bears are playing from behind. Next, we've got Jacksonville and Buffalo on Sunday. This is the first game on Sunday. So similarly to Packers, I think Jacksonville half final is a good bet, because just like the Bears, the Bills are usually playing from behind. Playing from behind against New England. They did come back and win, but playing from behind in both those matchups. Playing from behind against Philadelphia. Right? Look at all the games that Buffalo has trailed, playing from behind against Baltimore. Some of these games Buffalo actually won. So it might not even be a bad idea to maybe bet, like, if you think Buffalo's going to win, bet Jacksonville to win the first half and then Buffalo to win at the end of the game, if you think Buffalo is going to win. Now, I think personally Jacksonville is going to win, and I think it's going to be too much to overcome if Jacksonville is in front, because it's on the road, the crowd, the pass rush of Jacksonville, the blitz package of Jacksonville. It takes Buffalo out of what they want to do, which is run the ball, makes them more one-dimensional if they're behind. I'm just going to check the odds for this. But Jacksonville is plus 155, just like the Packers. If you did Jacksonville Bills, plus 700. Pretty good odds, considering how many times the Bills find themselves down at half. Also, there's something unique about the Bills that I've really noticed. They usually have a wrinkle on defense that allows them to come back in the second half. So this could be a game, and I very well see it going this way, where Jacksonville explodes on offense in the first half. And it's going to be up to Josh Allen and James Cook to keep up early, because I think Liam Cohen is going to have a lot of answers and a lot of money play calls early in this game to gain a lead. But once we get to the third and fourth quarter, the Bills defense and McDermott have a knack for adjusting one or two things in the run and pass game. They come out with more creativity. They seem to blitz the run more when they're being beat by it. They seem to have more creative, like, blitzes on third down things just to get them off the field. Like, they kind of go into their, oh, we've got to get a stop right now bag. And it's like, okay, we're going to throw everything at this team and the kitchen sink. And it seems to work more often than not. Like, look at that Eagles game, right? It seemed like they were getting completely dominated, and then they were able to come back, almost nearly win that game, right? So I think it's worth a bet looking at, if you think Jacksonville's going to win, half final plus 155. If you think Buffalo's going to win, putting some money on a plus 700 bet is not a bad idea. Jacksonville half, Buffalo final. Now, some of these props also lead into the type of game script that I'm talking about. Travis Etienne, 75 plus rushing yards, plus 125. Buffalo is a bottom tier run defense. They're bottom 5 in every metric you could possibly look at. Yards, per carry, EPA, DVOA, yards after, whatever, contact, like whatever it may be, right? They're bad on run defense. ETN, I think, will have a big day, and I think he is by far the most trustworthy back in this spot for Jacksonville. So I think 75 plus rushing yards. I could see him having like a 50-yard first half. Like, I wouldn't be surprised by that whatsoever. His total is 63.5 at minus 115. That's also a beautiful bet. So I would look at ETN over 63.5, and then maybe even escalators of like 75 plus, 100 plus. Like, I think he's going to have a massive game here. Allen over 1.5 passing touchdowns is plus 110. Whenever you can get the reigning MVP to throw 2 passing touchdowns, is not a bad idea, considering he's playing the number 1 run defense in football, who's top 5 in yards per carry, and they're also really good in terms of their ability to just overall pack the box, stop the run. And I think that's going to be their game plan, to force these receivers to beat the Jags corners. And I think that with Allen likely playing from behind in this game, as I've outlined, he's likely to throw touchdowns more than they are going to run the ball in, just because of the situation that he may be in. But I could see him throwing 2 or 3 touchdowns in this game, especially to tight ends, where Jacksonville is pretty weak against tight ends. They're bottom 10 in yards allowed to that position, and the Bills love to target Kincaid, Knox, and Hawes. Cam Little over 2.5 extra points. If you want to parlay that with McManus, I feel like Little is going to have three extra points in this game. I think Jacksonville, I think they're going to win, and I think in order for them to feel confident about winning, they've got to score 30 points. I think they should be able to get at least 27. In that case, I think they're going to score 3 touchdowns. I think ETN will probably get 1 or 2. I think Lawrence will be able to put 1 as well into the end zone. So I think Little, he's almost automatic. Rather than going with his field goal prop, which is kind of outrageously priced, I'd look at his extra point prop for the Jags to put up 3 touchdowns against Buffalo in this game, in a game that has a pretty high total, about 52. San Francisco, Philadelphia. In this game, I think there's going to be less points scored. There's only one player prop that I do like, and it's Christian McCaffrey over his rushing prop of 56.5. There's not many occasions that you can get CMC at 56.5 yards. Personally, I think this game is going to be a grind. I think it's going to be competitive, close, and tight all game. I think it's going to be a defensive game. I think the formula for the 49ers to win is by featuring CMC 30 to 35 times as a receiver and a runner. I think by keeping the possession, you keep Philadelphia's offense on the sidelines, and you make them play left-handed. Philly wants to milk the clock and go on long drives on offense, and I think Kyle is going to play into that, and he's going to play into the strength of his third down offense against Philly's weakness of their third down defense. Philly is 21st on defense on third down. San Francisco's first on third down in the league. So I think there's going to be a lot of early down runs to CMC, and we've seen teams run the ball on Philly. Like, I don't think they're an outrageous run defense. They're certainly not Seattle, okay? They're good, but I wouldn't say they're great. Philly also likes to play 2 high structures, which also opens up the box. And I think knowing Kyle, he's just going to have like the angles, in the run blocking game, the numbers in the run blocking game through his motions and things like that to where he can open up CMC to have a nice game here against Philadelphia, over 56.5 rushing yards. And then looking at San Francisco, because I think there is a path for San Francisco to upset Philly, just because they've been so poor on offense, so inconsistent. And honestly, like, I could see a world where Philly gets rattled because their offense really doesn't play that well and their fans go crazy. So I love the under in this game at 44.5. I also think San Francisco +6 is getting to outrageous territory. Like, it's getting to be too many points to ignore. So I think parlaying San Francisco +6 and under 44.5 is honestly a square but pretty good move. Like, first of all, less points, more, the points matter more when you're an underdog. I could see a lot of games that end 21-17, 20-14. Like something like that, like 21-20, like 23-20, 23-17, 17-13. Like, I see a lot of ugly games. How many games this year have the Eagles played against good teams and have won by more than 6? Like, think about that for a second. If you were to look at their schedule, who have they played and beaten by more than 6? Green Bay, they won by 3. Detroit, I think they might have won by 7. But I think it was like 16-9 or something. It was like really low scoring. They lost to Dallas by 3 on the road. They lost to Chicago by 9. They lost to the Chargers by 3. They beat the Bills by 1. So again, like, this could go either way here. Like, if the Chargers and the Cowboys and the Bears can beat the Eagles, why can't the Niners, even with their state of their injuries? You know what I'm saying? If they can find a formula, like, I don't know. And then, Niners by 1-6 is +425 if you think the upset is possible. I do like that parlay of Niners +6 and under 44.5. And I also think that the Niners half final is very live because the Niners don't come back a lot. There's those stats out there about Kyle Shanahan, and I don't think it's really a Kyle stat as much as it's more of his quarterbacks. Like, I think that the way the offense and the team is built, it's built to play from ahead. It's built to have a passing game built off of the run game, and it's not like Kyle's ever had Tom Brady or Peyton Manning or Patrick Mahomes as his quarterback, so it makes it a lot less likely that they come back. Although Brock Purdy's had some comebacks, it just for whatever reason has not been in the fourth quarter, but those stats are for a different day. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, usually when the Niners win, they're playing with a lead. The Bears game, the Colts game. Look at the primetime games they've been playing recently. They were down against Seattle. They never found their way back, right? So you're going to know. I would say if it's like 10-10, okay, it's even. If it's 13-10, yeah, it's even. For Philly, let's say 13-10 at half, whatever, then it's even. But like, if Philly's up 17-7, Philly's going to win. If the Niners are up 17-7, the Niners are going to win. And I think putting, Niners +300, that's a really good odds to lead at half and win the game. Because I kind of feel like if they're going to win the game, they're going to be leading at halftime. Like, that's pretty much the way I see it. Like, I don't see them being able to go to Philadelphia, not getting an early lead and winning the game. Like, I just personally don't see it. So even I would look at like sprinkling on Niners half final and then sprinkling on Niners by 1-6. Because I think both those are pretty likely. Like, I don't think the Eagles are going to get blown out if they lose to the Niners. I certainly would not think that given the state of the Niners defense. Okay, let's move to the Chargers and the Patriots. I really like the running game for the Patriots here, and I specifically like Ramondre Stevenson. Ramondre looks great for the Patriots. He had over like 120 yards last week with like 7 carries. I think he had like 19 yards per carry, but he looks phenomenal, and Henderson has been limited at practice this week. I do think he's going to totally play and get lots of work, but I could see Stevenson playing more than Henderson in this game because just the way he's playing, the way he pass blocks, which I think is important against the Chargers, and the more experienced back, right? He's also a bigger back, which I think the Chargers are a smaller defense, so that might also play a factor, but 50-plus rushing yards for Stevenson is +200, which I think is a great price because he's been playing great. The Chargers are susceptible against the run. I've brought up many stats as to why I believe that, including 18th in yards per carry allowed. The Patriots are third best in the NFL in EPA per rush since week 10. Ramondre Stevenson is going to be featured in this game, and I think McDaniels is going to run the ball 30 times. I also think it's likely that New England is in the lead, which also I think means more running for the Patriots. So I actually don't see this as a big Drake May game. I see this as a big Ramondre game. He's also gone for 50 or more in the games against Buffalo, Baltimore, Miami, down the stretch here. So 1, 2, 3 out of the last 4. Against New York, the Jets, he had 47 yards, where they basically pulled they pulled him, in the third quarter. They played Dearness Johnson because the score was 42-10 final. But he's had 8.3 yards per carry against the Bills, 6.4 against Baltimore, 5.9 against the Jets, and then 18.7 against Miami. So he's really been running well. Like, that's actually statistical evidence right there. That's not just me saying it. So yeah, Stevenson 50 plus rushing yards. I think plus 200 is a really good bet. Okay. His over, though, by the way, is 34.5, which I think is free. I honestly think that is free. Like 34.5 for Ramondre Stevenson, that might be as close to free money as possible, unless he gets hurt really early in the game. On the flip side, I think because of the script that I foresee, I think that Hampton under 12.5 rushing attempts is worth a look. First of all, he hasn't practiced all week. It could be more Vidal in this game. There could be a world where Hampton suits up and doesn't really even play because he's beat up and he only plays in emergency situations. If he does play, I expect it to be a split with him and Vidal, and I also expect New England to have the lead for much of this game, which means more passing. So Hampton under 12.5 attempts at minus 105 is worth a look, and then either Patriots running back, maybe even both, to score a touchdown is not a bad play. Stevenson and Henderson plus 130 and plus 125 to score a touchdown, both plus money. I would put a little bit on Stevenson just because it would go with the rushing yards, but I especially like the yards. Touchdowns are always a little bit weird. Henderson has been more of the touchdown guy, and I think their odds are correct here. But again, if I think Stevenson is going to be more of the featured back in this game, then I wouldn't be surprised if he did score a touchdown, okay? And then the final game, I only have 2 looks here for Houston-Pittsburgh, but 50-plus receiving yards for Dalton Schultz, I like. Plus 120. Dalton Schultz caught 82 balls this year. 82. 82. 82. He's playing the defense that allowed the most yards to tight ends, the Pittsburgh Steelers, okay? The Houston Texans, when you look at Dalton Schultz, he's also, I think, just very reliable, a veteran, a guy that they trust, CJ Stroud trusts. 82 receptions for 777 yards. Last game out against Indy, he had 73 yards. He had 76 against Arizona. He had 55 against Indy again. So, yeah, I think that that's not a bad look against the team that's the worst against tight ends in the league to 50-plus yards for Dalton Schultz, especially considering Pittsburgh has a strong pass rush. You want to get that ball out fast. Schultz is that kind of underneath guy. I also like this one. This might be my favorite bet for Houston-Pittsburgh. Neither team to reach 25 points, minus 115. I think that Houston, probably their max is 24 here. I think Houston will win, but I don't see a world where Houston needs to push to get 30 or 27 or 28. I think it's going to be difficult for them to do that against the Steelers pass rush. And it's in Pittsburgh. It's mucky. It's not great weather. I think their defense is going to dominate Aaron Rodgers. I don't think they're going to need 25 points. I think 23 or 24 would be perfectly fine. And I think, in all honesty, they'll need about 20 to win this game. So Houston and Pittsburgh under 25.5, minus 115. Those are my final, last minute, best bets for Wild Card Weekend. Thanks for watching, guys. It's Mitch. Gronk spiked the like button. We'll see ya soon. Good luck. Peace.